Mí'raj, the night of the Ascension, is an important feast in the Islamic calendar. With me I have Dr. Musharraf Hussain of the Karimia Institute here in Nottingham, and he's going to introduce this festival to us. Musharraf, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Tom. The Muslims believe that their prophet Muhammad was blessed with many miracles. Miracles are extraordinary occurrences and events that happen at the hand of the man of God, the prophet. They could be, like Christ bringing the dead to life, or healing the ill and the sick people by merely touching them or blowing on them. These sort of miracles also feature in the life of the prophet. And amongst his many miracles is the miracle of Mí'raj, or the Ascension. And what Ascension means actually is to go up, really. And what this means is going up to the Lord. It's a fascinating miracle of the prophet. It happened at a time when the situation was very tense and difficult for the prophet. In the 10th year of his ministry in Mecca, he was under huge pressure and under huge tension, and he was being persecuted, and so were his disciples, only a handful of them, but they were being severely persecuted. He himself felt very saddened, and this was also the year when, sadly, two of his great supporters died. Two of his, almost one can say, sponsors, guarantors, and protectors. One of them was his uncle Abu Talib, and secondly, it was his wife Khadija. Both sadly died in this year, and you can just imagine that this is compounded by the tension and the pressure and the stress from the people in Mecca, and then the death of two of his most beloved protectors. So there could have been no time when the prophet was more gloomy and saddened than this. And it was on this occasion that Gabriel, the archangel, came to the prophet one night and presented him with what is known as Buraq. This is some kind of a time or a spaceship of kind, really. It's mentioned that it looked like it was between an Arabian horse and a donkey, very much like a mule-sized, but a beautiful, handsome animal was presented. And Gabriel told the prophet to mount on it. And then there begins this beautiful journey from Mecca to Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem, when Prophet arrived on this wonderful spaceship, but the speed of this is interesting, that he says that wherever my sight fell, there he was. In other words, it was traveling at the speed of light. But he says, I arrived in Jerusalem, where I was greeted by an army of wonderful people like Solomon, David, people like Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Adam, Noah, Job, Jonah. All these great prophets were there to greet and welcome him. And there he led them in prayer. This is, very significant in many ways, and it shows that the prophet was a leader of all the prophets. And after meeting, greeting, and doing this great prayer together, Gabriel told him to mount in something else now, this time in another vehicle, which was now to start him on this vertical leg of his journey to heavens. And so he now visits the heavens. Again in heaven he meets great people, in different places. And then eventually he's shown around hell, what hell looks like. And there, it's interesting that the Divine Comedy of
Dante.
Dante, yes. He takes a lot of quotes from the Prophet's journey as well. It's interesting.
Well, there's of course, in early Christian literature, there are tours through the heavens and tours through hell. So
That's right, yes.
It's one of these common themes.
It is, yes.
Of showing us the other worlds.
Absolutely. And this is very, mentioned in a lot of detail that after all, this whole idea that we will be compensated, we will be rewarded, or we will be punished for our goodness and wickedness in this world, we need to know what it looks like. And I think that's why, the Prophet is given that, view of what would happen to his followers in the hereafter. So we get a very good glimpse into the hereafter. However, what is really great about this ascension is the fact that the Prophet actually goes into the presence of the divine. And there is this wonderful meeting. And this is actually captured in one of the prayers that the Muslims actually recite during their 5 daily prayers, where God asks him, Muhammad, what have you brought for me? And he says, oh Lord, all my verbal, my financial, in other words, all my talents and everything that I have is really for you. In other words, I live and die for you. Everything is for you. And then there is a response which says that blessings and salutations upon you, O Messenger of God. And this is actually, the Muslims read this in their prayer, in a way trying to reenact that Mí'raj, that ascension of the Prophet. However, this is really almost the climax when the Prophet is in the divine presence. And this is why the daily prayers are also, in many ways, called Mí'raj. We stand in the presence of the Lord.
I see here. That's important to make that link between why the same word is used for the annual event and the daily prayers.
That's right, yes.
And tell me, how is the annual event, how is it celebrated by Muslims, say, here in Nottingham?
Well, one is to stay up that night. In the mosques we have night vigils, so where the details of this miracle are explained, and the Prophet's visions are talked about, and then of course prayers are said in order to so that we may be blessed and we may be saved from that torment of hell, really. But at the same time, I think the important point that I always think why we celebrate the Ascension is to show how much God actually cares for his people, really. When the Prophet was really at his lowest, when he was in that state of sadness, he wasn't left alone. He was given this comfort. Look, this is my might and this is my power and sovereignty, and so you don't need to be worried. I'm with you. Really, and I think having that sense of confidence and knowing that the Lord is always there to support you, and that God really is very appreciative of our efforts as well. So I think the Ascension has many important lessons, but one of the greater lessons is the fact that it shows to us that, as human beings, we can actually go beyond our earth. We can travel beyond it into the space.
And you have written on this. And not only can you buy the book, but you can actually download it from your website.
That's right, yes.
Musharraf, thank you so much for coming and being with us today.
It's been a pleasure, Tom.